Hello everyone, it's the Module 5 this week, and I want to apologize again for sort of my lack of activity last week while I was dealing with an emergency situation out of town and did not have much access to the internet. It'll take me a little bit of time to get caught up, but I intend to, and I will get your assignments graded and we can move forward. Hopefully everybody's ready to do that. So this week we'll be focusing on teaching information literacy in a couple of different ways. It's a big standard for us to be able to have a handle on in modeling for students and in helping students learn how to read information well. So you need to do it as well. It is also one of the NET standards and one of the aspects of digital citizenship. When you start to think about how important that is, I think you'll view this as a pretty important module. So this week we're going to look at evaluating websites, creating rubrics, and then your assignment will be to put that together. You will actually be creating your own rubric based on what is important in evaluating websites. I've outlined 5 important criteria, and then you will select 2 additional ones if you want the extra points. Then you will select your own website to evaluate. It needs to be a children's website or an educational-oriented website, and kind of grade that website based on the rubric you've created, and then critique that as well. We'll also have you do another digital blog post, this time on Chapter 5. So you'll see we're going to leave the traditional order, and we're going to be starting to jump around a little bit to match chapters as best we can with the kinds of concepts we'll be covering in the modules. So your homepage should look like this. So in Module 5 then, there is an overview, and in the overview it will it'll obviously tell you your learning goals, but it will kind of give you an idea of the kinds of things that you'll be covering in this chapter, in this module. When you click Next, you'll get to the focus on evaluating websites. There is a little bit of text here for you to read, and then there is a video that I believe is about 15-20 minutes. I did replace the one that was through Brainshark. It's the same video that I recreated and put on YouTube. However, the sound, I was just listening to it again, the sound is a little bit, it's not that great. Hopefully you'll be able to get enough out of the audio to make it worth your while. And I will try to replace it with a better version sometime later this week. But if you want to move ahead, it should be available for you there, right here. And then there's also 2 other resources to support this content, and you'll see there are websites to click on there. The next thing is that most of you may be familiar with rubrics, but you may not have been asked to create one. And rubrics are different than checklists. And the hard part is understanding what you need to put in these cells to reflect what a lousy crust, in this case, if you were grading a pizza, might be. So this little video will go over how to create an effective rubric based on using pizza as an example. Obviously, you will not be using pizza. In this case, for your assignment, you'll be using a website. And then Rubistar is a very popular rubric generator for teachers. However, you really can't use rubric for the purpose of creating this website evaluation assignment. You can get some ideas from it. I encourage you to go out there and look, but I don't actually want you to use their website. Instead, I want you to use like Excel to develop that rubric. But this will be helpful for you just to get some background, and more importantly, as you move forward with some other assignments coming up, like the collaborative lesson plan, you'll be able to go back to Rubistar to use that. And then we get into the optional multimedia and the things to do. So you're going to read Chapter 5. You're going to read through all of the information and watch the videos, etc. Look at the links in Module 5. You're going to submit the digital blog post number D and also submit a web evaluation assignment. And I shortened that. It's actually a web evaluation / rubric / critique assignment. So when we go to the next page, you'll see where the digital blog post number D is here along with the rubric to see how you will be graded and evaluated on that. And when you click through here, you'll see it's the same. It's just telling you which chapter to look at. Most of you have tried going into creating your own digital tool, but if you haven't, you really need to do that if you want to pick up those points. Now, one thing that many of you have not done and you need to start doing is to embed your link. So there's a video here on doing that. And I believe I mentioned in there, but I'm going to also highlight that right here. You also need to give yourself credit in the resources. So in this blog post here, I created a little cartoon using Toondoo. Yep. And I put in a resource here, giving attribution to me. I created it. The date that I created it, what I named it, in this case, I titled it Schools In. Created with, and then I put down Toondoo and Toondoo's website. Now, in this case, I did a screenshot because I was having issues getting Toondoo to give me a link. But if you have a link that you can share of your actual cartoon or whatever you created, whether it be a Prezi or whatever it is, out on that site, that's what you would put here. But you'll see that it is following APA citation style, but it is important to give yourself credit. That helps you to appreciate the purpose of attributions as well. And going back here, let's look at this last assignment, and that is the website evaluation, critique, and rubric. The date is correct now. It's Sunday, September 25th. The specifics of the assignment are right in here. And you will submit this as a Word file or as an RTF file. If you create, I think in the past that you could create the rubric in a Excel spreadsheet, but I actually think it's better to do in a Word table. I think that'll be easier for you to do. And then you can submit the whole thing. Ideally, if you need to submit more than one file, just make sure that you have all files in your submission box before you actually say submit. And you'll see here is the rubric. So you're going to be evaluated on the content of the rubric using all 5 of the website evaluation criteria, plus 2 additional if you want the full points. Having a detailed and measurable description of the quality of each at the level of all criteria. And what that is doing is it's looking at those cells that I was talking about. For example, what exactly is a lousy crust? What does that look like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like, etc. And then there's the rubric quantification. And this is where you would provide the amount of points that the various rubric criteria would receive, and also the translation of those points into a final letter grade. Then there is the website selection and identification. So you just make sure that you give me the URL of the website you choose. The mechanics, grammar, spelling, etc. Writing a critique, and then also doing that critique in APA and page APA citation style. And the page length is really, everybody wants to know a length. And so I'm just putting in there of a minimum of 1 page. Okay, so that is a bigger assignment though. It's worth 50 points. So you want to try and get as many points as possible. That is pretty much the week. So there's a little bit more this week going than there was last week, and we're adding on to your knowledge. And you'll see that we use the website evaluation and the rubrics in future assignments. So it's a pretty important area to get a good handle on. So hopefully that helps. Of course, please let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I will try to address them for you. Hope you have a good week. Thanks for being patient again with me.